Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Glamhive Live Style and Beauty Summit here at the beautiful Albright Fashion Library in Los Angeles. My name is Brian Underwood, and I am so happy to welcome you back to our incredible day of fashion and beauty panels. We're so excited to have you continue to join us. Huge thanks to our sponsor, Mary Kay Global Design Studio, for all of their support. And please interact with us on social using the tag @Glamhive and the hashtag GlamhiveLive. And without further ado, here's our next panel. The team behind the stylists. These are the people you need to know. And I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Brooke Jaffe. Brooke?
Thank you, Brian. I'm so excited to be back here at Glamhive. I can't remember exactly which summit number this is for me, but it's always so rewarding and I always meet incredible people in the industry. I am Brooke Jaffe, as Brian said, and I am the head of communications for Penske Media, which is the home of brands like Variety, South by Southwest, Billboard, Women's Wear Daily, and more. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my incredible panel of ladies here. First is, to my right, Allie Grant, CEO of influencer marketing firm Be Social, and very excited to hear from you. Candice Valencia, who is the founder of fashion and lifestyle PR and communications company Evocative LA, brand builder and PR person to some of the best brands in the city. And Kim Apodaca, personal stylist. I know, we practiced that, everyone. Personal stylist for 14 years and with a passion for making clients look and feel their best. So ladies, thank you so much for being here. And again, as Brian said, the theme for today is really talking about brand building, kind of looking behind the world of being a stylist and really making that front and center. You know, stylists are really used to, in many ways, sometimes taking a backseat and being behind the person or the entity, let's just say. And so you guys are the dream team in terms of helping people figure out how to make that styling game for our audience here really front and center. So I'm gonna start with Allie, because this world of influencer, you were way in front of the curve starting your company, Be Social, in 2012.
Yeah.
So how did you even start to understand so early on, only 2 years after Instagram was invented,
Right.
that there was a business here or something to really tap into?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fell in my lap. I hate when people say that, but it really did in this situation. I had some girlfriends at the time who started blogs. So they were creating content. We'd go to coffee. They're taking photos of things, putting on this WordPress website, and it started building momentum. At first, it was like, you guys are crazy. I don't know what you're doing. Like, why the camera? Why are we doing this? And all of a sudden, I start seeing them amass this intense following. And from there, brands started reaching out to them. Like, L'Oreal wants to pay me to post and do this thing. And I'm like, I had some marketing background. So I was like, okay, let's charge X and have them do X, Y, and Z. And then it just kind of went from there. And so I sort of just started consulting for friends, and one thing led to another, and started working with brands and influencers. And that was back when we called them bloggers. Like, the word influencer wasn't quite yet a thing. So yeah, that's how it all started.
That's incredible. Amazing to recognize that, you know, there was an opportunity there.
Yeah.
And really build a business around it. I'm gonna go to Candice and talk about, you know, PR specialists are good at, you know, helping people shape their brands. What formula do you kind of use in determining what makes something unique, and how do you then stand out in this, what is now a very crowded marketplace?
Yeah, so typically when we first start working with the client, we like to send a questionnaire through to really kind of, you know, get to know their backstory, their passions, what really makes them tick. I think, you know, so many of us, we're kind of like we don't really like celebrate our accomplishments and our achievements as much as we should. So that's kind of where we come in, you know, like what little tidbits of information can you offer? Like, did you intern at a fashion house? Did you assist for, you know, a notable stylist? Did you sleep in your car to put yourself through fashion school? You know, what really, really, really makes you who you are? And like, we have a client that when we first started working with her, she would tell us like, oh yeah, I'm an emergency room provider. And I'm like, she kept referring to herself that way. And I'm like, what is an emergency room provider? She's like, I'm an ER doctor. I'm like, you're an ER doctor. Like, that is how we need to be positioning you. You are an ER doctor who like started a brand, you know? So that's really where we come in, and we really just kind of help people like pull out those tidbits of information that they're not necessarily like wanting to be talking about, because for them it's the norm. But like for other people, it's not necessarily the norm.
I mean, what I'm hearing, even though you're both saying different things, is it's about those authentic things that make you unique. It sounds like some of these people need that push. They need cheerleaders to kind of get them to tell that story.
Right.
And you're very much, let's just switch over to Kim here, because you're very much a behind the scenes cheerleader, in addition to being a stylist yourself, for the styling community. You're a teacher and kind of helping people advocate for themselves. I'd love to know kind of how you got started doing this kind of work, and you know, what that means to you in terms of working behind the scenes to educate stylists.
Yes. So I've actually been styling for 16 years. I'm old. But I think for me, I've had so many opportunities, and I've been taught by so many incredible mentors along the way. And so education for me is just my way of giving back. In our business in styling, there's no board certification, or there's no association. There's no bar exam that we take. You know, so stylists often go out there into the ethos and they're kind of winging it. They're learning as they go. And I so believe in what I do. I know that I change people's lives. I've watched my clients transform before my eyes. I've saved marriages. I've created marriages. I've watched businesses grow 300 times. So I so believe in what I do. And so my way of giving back to the planet, and because I can't give up leather quite yet, is to create an army of stylists and to help stylists become more successful. And so I co-founded the Global Style Academy together with my partner, Isabel Kershaw from London, who should be here, but thanks to the travel ban is not. So we really want to see stylists feel confident and grow. And so they don't have to take, 15, 20 years to get to where I am today, just to start there. Oops, I'm wearing really funky pants that are very exposing.
Well, so in terms of, because there is no certification, if you will, you can kind of start today. What would be kind of that number one lesson, in terms of bringing on a new stylist to help them take their career to the next level?
The number one lesson that we teach in the academy?
Yeah.
I don't think there's quite a number one lesson. There's a couple of pieces to that. We always say that there's 3 parts to being a successful stylist. You need to have the personality. You need to be able to connect with your clients, right? You need to have the talent, and have an eye for style. And you need to have a very strong business acumen or business etiquette, so to speak. Most of us, 2 of the 3. Not everyone has all of it, right? So we need to assess what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and work on our weakness. So by the time you graduate our 10-week course, you walk away having such an innate sense of confidence in your ability to style. Because between Isabel and I, we have 50 years of experience, and we're bringing a worldly styling experience to the platform. So you walk away with confidence, you walk away knowing how to run a business. We're entrepreneurs, we've got to understand marketing and branding, niching down and who your ideal client, all of that. And so you walk away with that, you walk being professional, and a sense of community. I think that's a huge part of it. Women in business, hello, we're all on our own. And so a big part of what we've created is a community. All stylists have a unique sense of style, and our clients are all different and not in competition. We're there to support one another. So that's very important.
So I think one of the reasons we're all gathered here today is that we all agree that the social media presence of a stylist is integral to success in today's market. So I'd love to hear from each of you kind of what that means, especially you, Allie, in terms of how do you stand out as a stylist? And what if you're not a great in front of the camera kind of a stylist, which many stylists are not?
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because a stylist, you're all about aesthetic, right? You have an eye for design, you know what looks good. Put that on Instagram, like I think people get so intimidated by taking a photo and posting it on social media, but I bet you just didn't care what other people thought and take photos of things that you thought were interesting and beautiful and posted it to your social media, others would catch on to that. And I think too, now people aren't looking at your website, your portfolio, they're going to your Instagram page, and that's how you're gonna find prospective clients. So having a curated, aesthetic pleasing Instagram that matches your style and how you would style your clients is just such a key to success.
This is more of a personal question about Instagram because I've had my own, highs and lows with it.
Yeah, we all do.
How do you know when, you just shouldn't post? Because you said something before we sat down about it being fun. How do you make it, I'm asking a really abstract question, but
No,
how can you make it fun and authentic and not feel like you might be posting something you're gonna regret?
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from what I just said is what other people think about it. Get that out of your mind first off. And also, it doesn't have to be you in the photos. If you don't feel comfortable posing and doing mirror shots and doing all of that, find things that you think are beautiful. It could be this book on the table, a beautiful latte, a beautiful home. Tie in things that don't have to be you and don't have to be clothes even. Just things that are beautiful and art and like I said, aesthetically pleasing. But you're gonna have ups and downs with social media. People are gonna like your content, they're not gonna like your content. Get out of your head about it. That's my biggest piece of advice.
I love it. Okay, I'm gonna move on to Candace now. And this question's about the special, your special sauce. And sort of if you could share one secret of success for anyone, whether you are a stylist or you're a brand, about to break out, what's kind of your big secret to putting yourself out there?
So I had to get really comfortable with hearing the word no. And from there, I don't really take no for an answer. I take it as a maybe not right now. So I like to kind of be tactfully relentless in my approach, whether it's, landing a really great placement for a client or even landing a client. I had seen a brand, I spotted them, I wanted them. I'm like, I need to have this brand. So followed her on Instagram, connected with the founder, and I just kind of was always checking in, or if she had a really big win, I'd congratulate her. And then 2 years later, she came to me and she was like, all right, we're ready to work with you. And she said, you know why I want to work with you? Because you were so relentless that I know that's how you're going to represent our brand. So just really kind of keep it moving and don't take it as rejection. Just, when the time comes, it'll happen.
So relentless, one way to look at it. Perseverance.
Right.
Never take no. And as far as stylists go, when should a stylist start to think about, because some stylists can be shy, should you enlist a PR team to kind of win those battles for you or sort of take on some of those?
Yeah, I think that, definitely when your brand is aesthetically ready. I think that with stylists or brands, a lot of times they'll come to us and website isn't necessarily up to par, or their Instagram isn't. So really get those ducks in a row, and then, and you're really kind of ready for PR, because then that's when people are going to want to cover you, because they're going to be, really intrigued by what your aesthetic is or your story.
I love it. So I would love to hear from Kim, because I know we're bouncing all around, but you do different things, but they all kind of collide. Kim, you have a very robust, enviable business. And so for an aspiring stylist listening to this call right now, this video right now, how can you,
put your mic
oh,
up.
sorry. For a stylist tuning in right now, how do you think you can, what are the first things you would do to grow your business and actually make it something you could live off of full time, not just a hobby?
Great question. Always think about what value you can bring to any situation. So often, I work with a lot of assistants, a lot of different people or different events we go to, and everyone is there to figure out what's in for themselves. If you can figure out how you can add value to anybody's life, especially as a stylist. We are problem solvers. You're going to stand out. I think you have to be professional. There's such a lack of professionalism that I see in our industry. A thank you note goes a long way, even a thank you email. What else is there? Can't think anymore. I'm on the spot. Another mantra I live by, my work philosophy is under promise and over deliver. My mother drilled that into me since I was really young. We tend to just, constantly say, "Oh, I'll do this," and then you end up being disappointing. Be unexpected and over deliver. And I say to all my students, it's difficult to go get a client. Once you've got a client, your client should be coming back to you over and over and over again. And if they're not, you're doing something wrong. So you've got to look into it and give them that advice and that coaching that they need, and see how you can add value to their lives.
I love it. There's so many things it feels like one has to do these days in terms of, be professional, over deliver. Now we have this social media thing. So it's like any tactical, I'm looking at you, Allie, like how do you divide time? How do you have the hours to kind of make sure you're creating enough content, putting yourself out there? Also, you've got to diversify the portfolio. You've got TikTok, we have Instagram. What's the right thing? I mean, I'm asking this as someone who really doesn't know the answer. What should go where? Yeah. Are there any we don't have to worry about? Are they all valuable?
Yeah, please tell me, Allie.
I'm waiting.
Such a loaded question.
Yeah, we're all there. We all want that answer.
Okay, yeah, loaded question. 2 parts, it sounds like. So I think taking time to create content, I think is what everyone gets overwhelmed by. So what I personally do, and I know a lot of clients do, is just create an album of content. And just today, I took 1 million photos of this beautiful house. Might post it today, I don't know, put it in my little album of bank of content. So you kind of always have stuff that you're building. And then if you have the time, do a content day. You literally just set 3 hours aside where your hair might be done, you got some outfits laid out, you're taking content. And then I think in terms of I guess it is very overwhelming, right? There's a lot of things that you have to do. I think getting it all scheduled and planned is really helpful and makes it feel less stressful. So I use something called Planoly, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You can schedule it all. I think a really simple photo editing app. I use something called Teza, which is really nice, has beautiful presets, where it looks crisp and sharp and clean and beautiful. And it's so simple. And then in terms of diversifying your content, I always say that to clients. Don't just put your eggs in one basket. Don't just be on Instagram. Instagram can go away tomorrow. And then what do you have? So it might be nice in your case, right? Because you're so over it.
Oh my gosh.
But I think there's just having different platforms that you're active on. So TikTok is a great one. And obviously that's short form video, but you can repurpose those for reels on Instagram. So bold. Have a podcast, have a website with a newsletter. There's different things that you can do to amass a community and a following that doesn't just have to be on Instagram. Did I answer it all? I think
you answered it all in repurposing video. I'm okay, I've got a plan. And also, I didn't know anyone, I've used Planoly for work, but I never thought
it's great. You could do it individually. And I think what everyone is obsessing over right now is TikTok. It's, how do I do it? And how do I make it successful? And blah, blah, blah. It might not be your thing, right? It doesn't have to be because everyone else is, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think what's great is put something on Reels, try it on TikTok. It might not work. They're different platforms, they're different audiences. Change up the music, change up the cover photo, and you will see a difference in what goes viral and what doesn't on each of them. So,
can I ask Allie a question?
Please.
On behalf of all the stylists out there. Something I talk to our students about, and now that we're in front of the expert, is as a stylist myself, A, my clients don't want to be photographed. I work with executives. B is when you're a stylist, and I'm also a mom, I have 3 businesses, it's so difficult to create that content and shoot. So what I try to tell, and this is where I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but sometimes, our Instagram can just simply be a place where people can connect with us, a portfolio. We don't have to be influencers.
No.
And I think sometimes so many stylists out there, yes, if you're a celebrity stylist and you have that following, that's great. But to be successful as a stylist, I don't know. I certainly don't have a huge mass of followers, but the following that I do have, I'm deeply connected.
Yeah.
And they're ready and there to listen, and reach out. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's the $1 million question. I think that's part of what this panel is your social media your resume as a stylist, your visual resume, and how robust and is if you were to show a client, another person might look at that and say, well, I don't want to dress like that client. So it can benefit, and so I think that's what we're really here to explore. And so do you as a stylist feel you because you are successful in your own right and you haven't had to use it. But it is a tool, I would say.
It's a tool.
It's a tool to send a pretend. If you're selling yourself to a client, what I do is I send them to my Instagram to get a sense of who I am.
Yep.
I don't get clients from Instagram. My clients are probably living on LinkedIn more than, if I'm working with business professionals and CEOs, then that's where they're going to find me. And it's more word of mouth.
I was going to say word of mouth.
It's more word of mouth in my instance, but certainly they can go to Instagram and go, is she crazy?
Yeah.
What goes on in her day?
Yeah. You don't have to be an influencer. It doesn't have to be about you and your style, right? It could be about your clients and what you think is beautiful, design-wise, art-wise. I think there's people feel sort of embarrassed of I want to be this influencer on social media, but it doesn't have to be that. I run a company, I'm a CEO, but I curate my Instagram because I have brands who follow me, I have influencers who follow me, so it's important, it's a tool for me. And I think in the case for stylists, it's the same. It can be a tool.
Yeah, and it shows there are many pathways for employment, but in a year of a pandemic, one could argue that we kind of had to rely more on sort of these other, tools to get people to know who we were, or because that in-person experience has been so limited. So it's all so interesting. I think it's a relief, probably, I hope, for people listening that you don't have to be an influencer. But if you want to be an influencer, I think it's a value add.
Yeah.
I want to get to a few other questions. So I think I'd love to hear from each of you, just advice from each of your vantage points for anyone aspiring to be a stylist or maybe struggling in their career or just looking to bring awareness to their businesses or brand identity. What is your advice as an expert?
I think I struggle with this. I think we all do, in business or anything in life, really finding your brand and what is your brand. I think what we tend to do, and I've done it before, is you try and be like someone else. You try and find someone that's successful that you look up to and you're like, oh, I just want to be like them. And I think that's the wrong way to approach it. I think you have to figure out what your thing is and then go after that. Because if it is your thing and you're so passionate about it, it's just going to come more naturally. You can't keep trying to be someone else. I think that would be my biggest piece of advice.
I actually have a question. Is your brand sometimes a reflection of who you attract? Meaning the brands that come to you for business, in your instance, or the L'Oreal wanting to go to your friend in the coffee shop. Is she a L'Oreal girl? Or does she have to know her brand first and say, they're not the right client for me to do business with? How does it, is it what comes first? Who you attract into the world because of your brand that you don't even know you're emanating? Or do you set the tone and say, this is my brand, I only work with these brands?
I think you can go both ways, and that is a deep question. I need a therapist for that.
I think maybe I was a therapist in another life.
Yeah, no, but it is true. It's what you put out there, you attract for sure. But then I think it goes back to learning when to say no because it's not the right fit for you at the time.
Right.
And learning to say no in business is so hard because in the beginning, you need to make money, you have bills to pay, right? So I think every time you say no, it's a future yes for something else that's more fitting for you.
You make space for that.
I'm actually going to, Candace, I want to dive into sort of a client comes to you and they are lost in terms of who they are stylistically. How do you approach the answers to that and diving in?
Kim or Candace?
Or sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at
me.
Cam.
Well, I will say that being a stylist is part styling and part therapist. And so I'm always fascinated in psychology. And, part of being successful, I would say to people, is like always work on yourself and professional development. So for me, because that is such a big part of what I do, my whole thing is creating someone's external personal brand. I devour copious amount of books on psychology. So the way I tackle it is we go deep. We talk about, how do you want to be perceived? What is your mission? What do you want the world to see you as? And then we start to build the external character. My background, actually, I was a ballerina and a wannabe actress, which is how I came from South Africa to here. And it was in acting school. Every time when I I was deeply insecure and I hated who I was. And every time I went to the costume room and I'd put on a costume, I'd become a character. And there was a connection for me. And I was like, oh, it's almost like you're, act before you become. Is that the, I don't like fake it till you make it, but it's kind of like that, right? Yeah. So you put on this costume and you can almost become the person you want to be. And so, when you're working with someone who's trying to go out on a date or save a marriage or increase their business revenue, these are all the things we ask.
I want to know what the saved marriage outfit is.
Lots of La Perla underwear.
Lots of, What? La Perla.
La Perla.
Oh, yes. Okay.
No, but it's being authentic. It's like, it's really knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And then I help you create the visual side of that,
It's so interesting. It's really so interesting that what you wear in your view is a suit of armor of sorts, or
completely
a persona.
I often ask other stylists, do you think it starts from the outside in or the inside out? And I think every day is different. Some days I put something on to become a certain character, so to speak. Am I presenting? How do I want to be perceived? Or if I'm in a great space, do I go grab a great outfit? So on a bad day, you want to maybe go grab that red dress that's going to elevate your spirits.
But consistency. Sorry, we're just going to go here.
Yeah.
Consistency in brand consistency is important, right? So while we may have highs and lows, and we may have different personas or aspects of ourselves, is true style or kind of knowing someone for their style about like a certain consistency or not? Like, meaning like, yourself, your style. Like if every day was a different.
Is this from the point of view of a stylist or a consumer?
It's just a question. Like if you see someone always in a different, and it's always what is, I don't know.
I think I get what you're saying. I wrote a note about this earlier because one of the questions related to it, but I think there's something about like evolving at your brand and feeling okay that it can change. I think people get stuck in like, ooh, I'm this and I can never be that. No, you can be one thing one day and another thing another day, and feeling empowered to be able to do that and make those changes. I feel like
I just thought of Billie Eilish when you were talking about how like we went from oversized baggy clothes to all of a sudden we had a Harper's Bazaar cover and a dress chic, and then we had a corset and like that.
We tell stylists in the academy all the time, they want to, we talk a lot about branding, and then they'll come up with one idea or concept and they go, but I could also do this and this. And I was like, this is not in concrete. You're going to always evolve. And it's the same thing with style. And certainly as a stylist, we have many sides to us, and I think everybody does. There's different facets to our personality, but it's about being authentic and having a voice that represents you, and it can look different. It can look differently every time, but figuring out your superpower, your voice is important.
Great. I am like running. I feel like I'm sort of repeating the same thoughts over and over. I think the other thing is there a way to use kind of that social media space to inspire yourself while not copying necessarily? But like, I think you may have posted, I don't know, like totally email or stalked all of you on your social media before this in preparation. And I think there was one post about like accounts that inspire or something. I don't know if one of you did that or maybe it was somebody else. But I thought that was really interesting and also a great way to get followers just as a tool. And maybe So maybe
Yeah.
just let's explore that and maybe any hacks to get more people to notice you.
Yeah. I mean, I use Instagram for like inspiration all the time, but I tend to use Pinterest more for that purpose.
Okay.
But I think it also like, if you want your socials to be a place that's like a happy place and makes you feel good and inspired, like follow the people that make you feel that way and unfollow the people that maybe don't, because that feed is something is like the first thing you see when you log in, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know, bit of advice on my end.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Lauren Everett's on the Skinny Confidential. Big plug out to her. But she gave a piece of advice that I certainly follow, and she says follow five. You have your following, but focus on 5 people every month, so that you're not constantly looking around and getting distracted. I think just like you were saying earlier, Ali, too many people want to be like everybody else. So you go look at 5 different people every month and you're following them for inspiration. And so you kind of keep your blinkers on. And Anna Wintour is also a big proponent of that. Keep the blinkers on, stay focused on what you have to say and look for inspiration. But social media is algorithm based. So you're always going to get what you like. And sometimes with inspiration, we need to look at art, we need to look at travel. I always say spend more money on travel and clothes, because
Yeah.
you know, you're inspired when you walk through the streets of Paris or Prague or all these different places, rather than, you know.
I feel you.
Absolutely. I can't wait for things to go back to normal.
Right? Oh my God.
I guess I'll go back to Candace because I haven't given her as many questions. How do you go to brands and try to help them stand out to editors, and sort of like what's your play in terms of making someone stand out in the marketplace?
Well, I would say if it's from like a stylist perspective, really do your research. If they're really wanting to kind of like do their own PR, go to the Who It Wears, Zoe reports, the Coveteurs, and find those stories that you could really see yourself in. Find out who that editor is. Become friends with them on social media. Interact with them, react to their stories. DM them and introduce themselves and offer, or let them know how you could be an asset or a resource to them. There's so many times where I will be emailing editors till I'm blue in the face. I do not get a response for weeks and weeks. I go on Instagram, I DM them, and I hear from them like that. And kind of like to what you do is make sure that your Instagram is going to be captivating, so that they see those first 6 to 9 tiles, and they're going to want to know more about you. And that's going to tell them like who you are and why they want to work with you.
It's so interesting that you get a faster response through social, sometimes an email. I find that sometimes too, but I also find that now you have access to everyone in the world. The idea of having a Rolodex is like gone. And I used to have big Rolodexes in my office, and people used to make fun of me, and I may still have them somewhere. Anyway, the point is that we can take matters into our own hands, and really build our own brands. And it's about getting to that authentic core of what that is. I also want to say, back to your letter writing, I know I'm all over the place here, is being nice, I think particularly in fashion, is really unique. So sort of the letter writing piece of it, is that, I guess I'm saying it for us, but wonder if you agree, like is being sort of genuine and present, and at least like it's about eye contact, it's about saying thank you and all that stuff, I think could go a long way.
Absolutely.
100%. I think especially in PR, we're all about saying personal thank yous for when an editor does a great story. You just really want you really need to show appreciation in this day and age, because people are busy and there is a lot going on. So if they are giving you that time, you really have to show your appreciation and your gratitude for it.
If you connect with someone on a personal level, there's so much more room for forgiveness if you botch up a job, so to speak. A coffee goes a long way. And stylists, when we're working in the retail space and going to go do a pool, those retail staff, they're working their butts off, and they have no disrespect, but they have a crappy job and it's hard and it's long hours. And then we come along and we're like, we're the stylists, like, oh, where's my dressing room? And it's like, no, we have a bad reputation for that. And then we return the clothes, the pieces, and they're folded up in a bag. And it's just going back to that business etiquette. And if you're the stylist that always returns everything nicely hung, if you're the stylist that walks into, the store and you remember the store manager's birthday or their daughter or son, all those little pieces are going to make you stand out, and you are going to go up there. It's not just me and my clients. We're all strong as the team behind us. So write that thank you note, write an email, be grateful. We're all in this together. Are we really? Did I really just say that out loud?
We're all in this together. But fashion, no matter what aspect of it you work in, you work with merchandise. I've always said you always wind up on the floor somehow, whether you're laying out clothes or counting jewelry in a tray or whatever. It's a hard physical work and it can make you grumpy. But if you're nice, that is a brand in it unto itself. I'm not sure how much time we have left, and I want to make sure that you all have time to, if there's anything that you have not been able to address, just in terms of obviously just having this platform and this incredibly captive audience, is there anything or words of wisdom you'd like to impart that we haven't touched upon today?
Who wants to go first?
Words of wisdom. Stylists, be more interested than interesting. My mentor, David Meltzer, always says that, be interested, be curious, read, grow, personal develop. And remember that as a stylist, we are stylists 24/7. It's not what we do, it's who we are.
Love that.
That was good. You have like the one-liners.
That is, wow.
Yeah, right.
Mine would just be from, the PR perspective, and if they're out there wanting to do their own PR and pitching themselves, be really clear, be very concise. Don't write these long emails, get to the point in the first 2 sentences. And let them know what you want, and just be specific and tailored and do your research. And don't take a non-response as a no. Just keep on with that follow-up.
Love that advice, especially the short and to the point email tidbit.
Post to Instagram. That's going to be mine. Make that first post, launch that Instagram account, just do it. Who cares what other people think?
Yes, it sounds like we all have a place in the social media ecosystem, and it's ours for the taking. But ladies, thank you so much for being here today. I learned a lot. I'm inspired. I'm going to re-up my efforts on social just for you.
Can I do a quick plug for Glamhive? Glamhive has this Glamhive Style Academy, and our next course starts October 5th if you want to sign up and make your business soar. So,
can everyone just say their social handles really quickly, and please follow all these ladies on social media?
Yeah, I'm very good with DMs. I'm Kim _Apodaca, APODACA _style.
I'm Candace Cameron, CANDICE _Cameron.
And I'm Allie Grant, ALI Grant. And I'm good with DMs too, and happy to answer any questions about social.
Yeah, same here.
Great. And Brooke Jaffe Style, BROOKE JAFFE Style. Yay.
Yay, that was great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.